Okay, I'm going to talk now about my new book, which I just finished, which is called Fog Man, which for me, after all my many children's books, is quite a departure. And I can say that for many reasons. It's a book more of mood and feelings and about how things were, you know, where you feel the weather, you feel the rocks. It's more close to nature, to natural life. It shows how life used to be, the values that people used to have. And it's my homage to Ireland. I mean, we've been here now 35 years, and a lot of it was inspired by the way still things were when we came here. We arrived practically with electricity, and when I think of how, even the stories I heard, I mean, how rough the times were. And this is truly what you can call the back of beyond for all of Europe. And then what triggered this book is I came upon a book which is called the Islands of Ireland, and that completely triggered the whole thing, you know. And I mean, you may have an idea. I love the fog, and I love the full moon. And I think the combination of both is extraordinary, visually and all that. So as this book too is a sum of many, not only feelings, but of techniques too. It's nearly as if I started from scratch, you know, all together. It's a bit like this with every book. Every new book is a new departure. I have to find a new technique. But this was much more serious challenge, because it's a book of atmosphere. So I had really to develop, like I really worked on my skies. I was always interested in clouds. I always loved clouds. So since this is a book of atmosphere, I had to develop a brand new technique. The fog, for instance, I figured I do my drawing and I just go with white or light grey pastel over it, it becomes foggy. I was wrong. I had to redo quite a few of the drawings because the perspective is inverted in the depth perception is in the fog. The further you go, and the lighter and the more it disappears in the fog. You cannot just put a white thing over the whole thing. That's not the way it goes. So I had to do that. I really worked on my skies, really to have here the Irish skies we have here in the southwest. And then there were of course the stonework. You know, we have our beautiful castles here. We are surrounded with old stonework. Like when you see the sheep, for instance, grazing, they have very loose walls, which would let the air through. This is when the sheep are soaking in a storm or something. They go behind a wall like this, which breaks down the wind, but doesn't let down through the rain. And this is why those walls are built that way. So it's very accurate too. Like in terms of the curraghs, I had no idea studied the curraghs. It's all from that book I got here. And I really went through the whole technique of the curragh. And then the other thing is too, there is a lot of us, of me and Yvonne when we arrived here, some of the neighbors, and the solidarity and all that. So it works on so many levels, but I don't think since the leader book, I don't do anything where I put my heart as much as I did in this book. I gave my feelings a free range. And I hope that it shows. Really, this is of all the children's books I have done, this is the one I would say that the most impatient ever to share, especially here with the people in Ireland. Ireland gave me kind of, I can't say an identity, you know, but identity is your origins, but you can always find a substitute or an identity by proxy if you want to. What I found more maybe here would be the steadfastness. You know, I'm really sitting here in the back of beyond. I see all the storms and all the things we see. I mean, so those things are for me really alive, and I need them. So I will start now, starting with a story and telling it to you, and occasionally I'll show you too the photographs which were. Now we have here the first picture here. where shows the families. They have 2 children. Well, most likely, but I'm not going to go into details. They have older brothers and sisters who left already. But they might show up in the next volume, for all I know. You know. And they lived by the sea, under the weather, in the back of beyond, a world of water, skies, turf and stones. So you have the father, the mother, the things, and of course this is like our sheepdog here. And there you can see already, you see how the kind of picture there. Well, I must say, this is very much like here when we arrived. The buildings where you didn't have any view on the sea because everything was protected from the wind. And with all those decrepit buildings on both sides, it was like 2 little streets on both sides of the... That's the first picture which presents the family. Then I was thinking, you know, like for children, it's always nice to see how things are on a farm. And I said, you know, they were poor, but they had what they needed, and they were thankful for it. And then there's another element I might just as well bring up now. I mean, in my books, there's always got to be a purpose, a reason. Now, throughout the books and those adventures, those 2 children are never scared. They're never scared, they can always handle the situation. Because their life is anyway already so hard, and they have so many hardships, that they're simply hardened. And they're just not scared. And it's a lesson to show you that whatever happens, don't hope, cope and handle the situation. And this is what, so here we have now really the farm. They have 1 cow, they have 1 cat called Banshee, they have 2 pigs, 1 for sale and 1 for salting and smoking at Christmas. Then they have some geese and chickens, of course. So they have basically, they're self-sufficient. And the father is fisherman, and he does build curraghs as well. Now here's a double page because, you know, I couldn't put all the animals on one page, so I really reserved a double page here for the sheep, you see, right by the shore. Here you see this kind of rock walls that led there, see. And then I am being quite accurate. I must say that when I draw plants or birds and animals, I know them by heart. So I put one of the birds we have here, which is a stone chat, here, a little stone chat. And I have a gannet up there, a gannet. It's, for me, one of the most beautiful birds, really, when you see them diving and all. And here on the stone here, I put a few cursing stones. I don't know, this is really this mixture here in Ireland of the ancient Celtic tradition mixed with the Catholic rites. And there, of course, we have already kind of a bit of a scary element here in the dolmen. So there we are. But you see, when I draw a sheep taking milk from his mother, there on the knees with the legs bent down, you see, or like here when she gives the bottle. You know, I don't have to check a picture or a book I don't have to do that, because I know it by heart. You know, all the animals. This is what's great living on a farm, and you're surrounded with willing models all the time. So we're still here, and really this is all back in the olden days. And now here I show, you know, the turf. You see the basketry here on the turf. The basketry is exactly copied from a document here in the book. You see, that's interesting. You see, you can see here the little boy. But in here, in this case, is using it for kelp. But they use the same baskets for kelp or for peat. And this across, now this down this page, you see them like in the evenings, you know, like you have the peat, and there, where does it go? It goes in the fireplace. And there are all those implements. They were here, you know, for the cooking and all that. There was a complete set, like here in the old house when we moved in. And, you know, to show that in those days you kept busy without the need of television or anything like this. They didn't have a radio in those days. And here is a father who's building curraghs, and he's building for the two children. And here I show, you see how the curraghs are built. So I try to, it's really incredible because they have no wood on this island, so they use reeds, you know, just by weaving, and it makes them like very shock absorbent. And it's just canvas and then tar on top of it. So the father is giving the children a small curragh so they can go fishing, and they go in the bay on a nice day. Now this was a very nice day and a quiet day, but the fog set in. You see, the fog came in here, and this is a double page to show them really, to show you really how, you know, I mean, how they're lost in the fog. And of course, they're lost in the fog. There's no sense paddling. They don't know where they are. They don't know where they are, and they're drifting. You know, there's strong currents, especially around the dangerous, very dangerous area with a lot of cropping stones and cliffs, which is called the Fog Island. Fog Island, which is based on the Skelligs, you know, basically. You know, there too, I was very much inspired, actually totally inspired for this island by the Skelligs. Here, I'll show you. You see here is a photograph of the Skellig. You see the steps going up there, and this is the picture. So they arrived, you know, they go by the fog bell, you know, which warns them they're getting in this dangerous area, and there's bad spirits there. Nobody ever dares. They say it's bad luck. If you go there, you have bad luck for the rest of your life. But it always seems that all the fog is coming from there. It's called the Fog Island. Well, it's already getting dark, you see, and thanks be to God, the moon shows up and lights up the fog. You know, the fog becomes phosphorescent in the moon, and then they could strand on the beach. They were just installing themselves for the night, you know, turning the curragh into a little shelter. And he says, "Look at the steps." So he says, "Let's go up there and find out," because now with the moonlight they can do that. So here they are, you know, which is very adventurous, you know. And then the steps come up there, and suddenly they stop. They're on top of this island, and there's this big wall, and there's a big door with a big and a ancient kind of bell, you know, for ringing. So they ring on the bell, they wait, and then suddenly the door slowly opens, and there is this man, which is a fog man. Of course, he hasn't had visitors for centuries or for years, God knows what. And he invites him in. He says, "Oh my goodness, are you lost? You know, come in and be welcome." Now he lives in this ancient abode. And he says, "Yes, I'm the fog man, and I'm the one who makes all the fog." I said, "But how do you do all the fog?" He says, "Well, I'll show you. I mean, you were lost in the fog. Well, we'll get rid of the fog. There'll be no fog tomorrow morning when you leave, and you're going to come and spend the night here. And then I'm going to turn the big valve. You see, there's a big valve here, and he turns. And he's completely covered with hair, and that's his clothing, actually. And he turns off the valve, which cuts down the fog. And then he shows her how the fog is made. See, and he opens that door, and it's a bit scary because you think of Hansel and Gretel, you know, fear element. Is he going to throw them down there, you know? And they look down there, and what do they see? And this is the only picture in the whole book where it's not foggy, where it's really gray. They see it's a big, big pit, which goes to the center, to the magma of the earth, you know, the lava. And whenever he opens the valve, he lets the water from the sea go down there, and then the water evaporates and creates all the fog. This is why his whole place where he lives is warm, soggy, and foggy. So can you imagine? Look here, you see in the light of the sun here. So this is how the fog is made. So it's very nice, and he said, you know, I'm really bored here, I have to do all my own entertainment and all, and he says, since you're here, we're going to have a little party here. It's a bit like Captain Nemo too, you know, Jules Verne, you know, and you know, he plays the old Irish harp, plays the music, he's got a seal, a trained seal, that plays all kind of tricks, and he's got all his crows. His crows are, it's not the first time, I've had other books where crows are really. So, he's serving them for dinner now, and you see it was a nice seaweed soup, which is to please the vegetarians. And it's the crows who bring all the seaweed from the shore, you know, and the fish and all the shells and everything he needs. You see, octopus, whatever. Puts all kind of stuff in his stew. And then off to bed. There's a big old bed in an old danky room. You see, with the moon shining through the bed. It's of course scary even in itself. It's got an octopus shelf. And they fall asleep. And the next morning, of course, like everybody else, if they're lucky, they wake up. And where do they wake up? In the middle of ruins. And this is really like here at the castles, you know, this is exactly, you could think you're inside the castle. This is exactly that kind of stonework. You know? And they still have, that's the middle of the ruins on the rocks, they still have the quilt from the night, and there's 2 hot bowls of again, seaweed soup for them for breakfast. So here they wake up, and the fog is gone, and here they go down again. You see there, you can see the island with the ruins above. I put the crows up there because I made three dots, so I had to cover them up. And here you see very small taking off. Now you know that this kind of a meteorology, when you have this kind of sunrise, it means bad weather. So the fog man has control of the fog, but he can't control the weather. And now they're really in dire trouble here, because of course they're and he said, you know, the currents are drifting them back. That's all right, you know. The currents reverse, and with the other currents they can go and be shifted back home. But then they get into a storm. And this is where I realized my lacuna, that I really had a hard time, always, all my life, to draw waves. And so I designed a brand new technique. So you can see that, you know, as she's bailing off in the little curragh, in this nutshell of a boat. But at home, you know, they're not standing still. They're out there on the bigger curraghs, you see, just to go and look for them. And this is where they're salvaged. This is where they're salvaged. And back home. And in this book, which is actually those islands, mainly on the Aran Island, you know, most of the people were dressed in black, you know, like old suits. And I figured out that, you know, the Sundays best must have been passed from father to son, and over the years, once you couldn't wear them at church anymore because they were worn. I guess they wore the Sundays best for work. I mean, that's my explanation. But graphically, so there too, you see, now that is really an interesting case in point here, because it shows you how the artist is influenced by, you know, by the documentation. Like as I said, when I draw animals, I don't have to do it, but the curraghs was a new thing to me. And I had this photograph here, but they're not in the black suits, that's in the summer. But you see how I was inspired by that boat and this boat. And so, of course, they reach home very happily, you know, here they are. But always, you know, the people just stay there, just like, you know, as if nothing happens, you see. It's already getting in the evening, then, and the dog is welcoming them. This is my famous shingle shore. And there is a woman, you know, carrying kelp. Now there too, I can show you the photograph. That's really interesting. You see the old woman here. Here you have the original picture here in the olden days, how they just carried the kelp. So, of course, I do my own rendering, but the basketry is accurate. And then, of course, we are reaching the end of the book. They have a big celebration at the pub, at the local pub. You will see the parish priest, the children are celebrating. But still, people don't believe in the stories of the fog man. But on the other hand, they're too cowardly to go there and check, because they say, listen, we left the 2 poles, we left the quilt. You can go there, you'll see it there in the ruins. They won't go there. It's too much bad luck, but the children had good luck. And now many weeks later, they're just sitting there at dinner, and the little girl is pulling her hair out of her soup. And the hair gets longer and longer and has a greenish color, you know. And she says to her brother, you see, it's a fog man. She kept the hair, and she had a little locket, and she puts the hair in a locket. And maybe I may have a little drawing here of just a locket with the hair in it. That's a good luck, and that's it. But never once were they scared. That's my story.
Do you have a text yet?
I know it nearly by heart. I have the text which I originally wrote, but each time with every picture. I have all my sketches here, which are very interesting to see how it develops. And on every sketch I write down, you know, as I draw, I'm adding additional sentences and all. Now the first line I read to you, that's the way it's going to be. So I had to figure out an idea, how does he make the fog? And that's why I'm quite happy with myself, was the idea, you know, of the magma. You know, it could be, you know, it is a source of future energies. They've tried it already. They tried it in Basel. And wherever they tried it, in Alsace and in Basel. They drilled, right, just for this technique, and it created small earthquakes. You know, in Iceland, that's what they do. That's the first reportage I ever wrote was about Iceland. They have big glass houses with bananas which have no taste because they have no sun. But I mean, every house, if they need hot water, they just drill down in the ground, and the boiling water comes right through the faucets. So in Iceland, you could easily, this could be, I mean, if this were in Iceland, then it could really work, because you just dig down and you got the magma down there. And children should learn a bit about geology too, you know, always learn a bit. What's great is whenever I do a book like this, I learn myself something. Now I know what currachs are like. Now I know how they are made. The one that was the biggest challenge for me was the water element. I'm using a transparent paper, very, very hard, but thick. And all the skies and the water, I do it on the other side, and that gives me this luminosity. So now I figure a way that when I do a scene like this for the future, I put with pastel just the green on the bottom. Then on the other side, you see, now that's very interesting. Look how it looks on the other side of the drawing. Then on the other side, I turn it around, and either with pencil and gouache, which is, you know, poster covering, I do the form. But here, you see how nice the form works then? That's done with the eraser. On the other side, I get the effect. And then once I have that, then on this side, I take a deeper color, a deeper pastel, like in here, and rub it in. And this gives me then, you see, rub it in, and then it stays. And a bit in here, and then in the back there. And that's how I got this technique. Now you see that nice even grey I have on the rocks? This grey is the black on the other side. And it gives me exactly this graduation. Because then I can still on this side go over with another. There's a great Japanese influence in this book. Great Japanese influence, you know, of Hokusai and all those people. My first wave, you should see the first drawing, was completely inspired by Hokusai. And Yvonne said, no, the water doesn't move, it's frozen. And then after dinner I came here and with white, I took it white paint and color in my thumb and I went over the drawings and then and the next morning I woke up and I had the retouched one. And then I developed my technique. Then I developed